And then you have that other additive, you know, which affects the whole scene, which is, you know, in hindsight, after I really watched the documentary Murder in the Front Row.
Yeah, I really like that.
After the book came out.
Yeah.
Boy, it's Kirk Hammett's world. I mean, Kirk shows Gary Holt how to chord a guitar, how to hold his pick. He finds Paul Bailoff. He finds and snatches Cliff Burton. And Cliff Burton's an absolute musical genius.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes into Metallica and takes them away from a kind of Americanized new wave of British heavy metal vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the first time I heard Hit the Lights, the demo version of Hit the Lights by Metallica, no life to leather, we're going to kick some ass tonight, yeah. Right? It wasn't hitting me.
Yeah.
I was like, this is some LA shit. You know, it was all it was like kind of, I wasn't feeling it. But by the time Cliff gets in the band and they get this Beethoven and Bach and Mozart composition and this songwriting thing that Cliff hits them to, that's when they really come into form. And that's a Bay Area thing. That's him. That's him telling them, no, I'm not moving to LA. You move up here.
Which I still think is like so dope. Like, you guys come down here.
Super dope.
Meet me where I'm at and live in El Cerrito, because this is where it's chill and fun and FLA, which, you know, has been my attitude for the last 46 years.
For sure.
But all jokes aside, that album drops in 1986, Master of Puppets. For a lot of people, it's the best thrash album of all time. I do have to say, you know, and it's no shade to Metallica, as you know, we've talked for years. I am a huge fan. That music is on all the music you're talking about is on my DNA, right? I just think, you know, if we're going to talk 86, for me, Rust or Peace Cells that's the record that made me want to go grab a guitar instantly. But Metallica gets into the stratosphere commercially with Master of Puppets. How does that record hit the scene following Ride the Lightning and all the other stuff that's coming out around the same time? Because 84, 85, a lot of people are getting their deals, maybe not all with Elektra, but they are getting videos. They're getting their music out. They're starting to tour. How does everybody respond to something like Master of Puppets?
Well, I mean, dude, it was blockbuster. We all saw the rising of Metallica was undeniable, and you started to see everybody looking at that as the past. You know, for me, you know, all-time greatest thrash album of all times is Bonded by Blood.
Okay.
You know,
yes.
And even the songs that Kirk took from Exodus and brought to Metallica, the riffs or songs, are some of my favorite early Metallica songs. For me, it was all about Exodus. But, you know, everybody just was in awe, not only in awe of Metallica, but actually tripped out that Ozzy gave them such a platform. I mean, you got to remember, they were given their entire stage production on that Ozzy tour.
Which is
all the crosses, the backdrop, and everything. Back in the day, opening bands playing, they got 2 feet of space on the stage, no backdrop, and 6 lights.
I was gonna say that's a big thing people don't understand about when you're opening, even on an arena tour. You play in front of the headliners' stuff, their staging,
right?
And if you watch the footage of that 86 tour, even opening for Ozzy, you see all the crosses from Master of Puppets, and they got to have a full stage. That also means that
3 steps up back to the drums,
hey Chris,
the whole stage.
How much tour support were they getting back then, though?
Right. Exactly. I mean, they were in it. They were at that point. They owed a lot of money.
Yes.
And you got Kiss doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss was never afraid of any band, so they gave Anthrax the same platform. With I'm gonna skip on the name of the record right here. With all the yellow and red circles.
You State of Euphoria. State of Euphoria.
State of Euphoria tour. They had the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
The little ugly man face with the mustache and all the red and yellow swirls and steps up back behind the drums. Kiss was like, do your thing. There's a few bands. Now you got Van Halen going out on the road with the Velcros. 3 dudes in orange jumpsuits getting booed off the stage. Van Halen was notorious for bringing out crap. So they were still booing them by the time Van Halen got on stage. You had bands after, like Led Zeppelin, who went out with really poor bands after they took out Vanilla Fudge.
Mm-hmm.
And Vanilla Fudge whooped their ass and they cut their set.
Damn.
People were throwing chairs and going off, and they were like, get them off the stage now.
Damn.
So some bands just don't have that fear of the opener. So I got to give, Kiss and Ozzy a lot of credit for doing that for Metallica, because that was something that made all of us go, wow. And you got to remember, dude, Metallica doesn't make a video till 1.
Yeah.
Right. So until 1 comes out, they really weren't being pushed on MTV or anything. This was, you had to go see and experience Metallica live.
And they weren't getting radio airplay either.
No. It's what was the Bam magazine? I think on the cover of Metallica it said Top 40 Radio Won't Touch.
Yeah, I remember that. I totally remember that Bam magazine. Yeah.
Right. So that was the thing, and that definitely bolstered all of us here in the scene. Like, this is some hidden shit here, and people are not finding it. People are digging for this, and then you've got the growth of Metal Blade and Combat and Roadrunner, these record labels that are dedicated to this genre and this movement, and then I think the whole time what's growing underneath that is bands like Agnostic Front with the Cause for Alarm album and Chromax, Age of Quarrel. You start to see this growth of punk bands and hardcore bands bringing on more of a metallic sound. Crumbsuckers,
Do you think that change in sound, because punk is kind of sonically across the board, right? If you look at those hardcore bands from the early 80s, from Southern California, Fear, The Germs, Black Flag, and even going up north to where we're from with the Dead Kennedys, there's not a lot of sonic similarities. It could be because of access to equipment. There is no equipment that's going to be the definitive sound of punk, right? Some punk is kind of jangly.
Clean tones,
right? Because they don't, there's just, again, access to stuff, ability to play stuff, knowing how to use your stuff. And the era that you're talking about, that sound that we know with thrash, which is a little different to me from the glam metal stuff, because again, those guys are influenced by the Stones, and they're playing Aerosmith rocks over and over again, which again, these are not albums I'm trying to diss, but I hear that more in that music than I do in the veracity and the speed and the intensity of thrash. And I feel like, and you can answer this, by the time these seminal records come out for the guys, maybe there's a big 8, because I think there's people that still, again, you go out with them and these people personally. You have the Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer, of course, but you also have Exodus, you have Testament. I would throw Overkill in. Would you throw Overkill in?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Death Angel.
Death Angel, Sepultura is doing.
Yeah.
They're playing at Mach 1. Morbid Visions. I don't know if they get a chance to come up to the States in 86 or 87. Suicidal Tendencies has taken on.
Right.
They're punkish, but they still have that crunchy sound that I feel like
when they get Rocky George. They get Rocky George on guitar, and they get Robert Trujillo on bass, and then we got guys with Marshalls with rack gear.
You definitely can hear the rack gear,
yeah. And you're starting to get processed tones and processed drum sounds, and the production level goes up. Some of those stronger punk bands from the UK, I don't think they had it the same way over there as we did. They could do legitimate recording sessions, recorded, the same way a Motorhead would be recorded. Multiple tracks, better studios. It seemed like punk and hardcore over here was your buddy who does assistant engineer work, who could let you in the middle of the night and tape over some old tape. And get 13 songs done in 5 hours, and we'll mix it in a couple weeks. You hear some of the bands talking about how they got that buddy deal to record their first albums, where it was like on the slide, on the slip, get in here real quick, and maybe not a producer or somebody who really, really knows what they're doing, but just capturing raw tones, all live in the room, together. No ISO booths, nothing like that, So you get more of a rough sound.
Is that how you record your first Attitude Adjustment record?
Actually, we recorded with Peter Miller, who's an old rockabilly kind of guy in San Francisco. And so that first record was actually recorded, but it was recorded quick. We had small budget from Pussmort Records. Pusshead signed us. That's one of his earlier releases. So we did go in, record. The guitars were in an ISO room. The bass was in an ISO, but they were in the room with me playing drums, and then we overdubbed the vocals and did overdub solos. So we're getting into a little bit more of a proper recording session there.
And how long did it take you guys to do that record?
Oh man, we did all the drums in one day, did overdubs the next day, and started mixing.
So you didn't sleep?
Oh no, man, there was no sleep back then. We were all on meth.